Welcome to the Chamber's Connect with Careers Week. Thank you so much to our sponsors, Capcom Federal Credit Union and Hoosick Valley Contractors. I'm Kate Manley, president of the Rensselaer County Regional Chamber of Commerce and your host with Connect for Careers Week. Today, we're joined by Kerri Puckhaber, who is the chief estimator at Hoosick Valley Contractors. Welcome, Kerri.
Thank you.
So we're so pleased to have you here today. So your title is Chief Estimator. Can you tell us a little bit about what that role is and also a little bit about Hoosick Valley Contractors?
Hoosick Valley Contractors is a small to mid-sized commercial general contractor. We do mostly public work, so we bid on schools, municipal buildings, prisons, a variety of different things, wastewater treatment plants. It never ends, the different stuff that we get to take a look at and bid on. My role as chief estimator is to review all the design documents that are provided by architects and engineers to see what the cost would be for us to be able to provide their vision in real life.
Oh, that's awesome. So what did your personal pathway look like when you were a high school student, kind of to where you are now? Tell us a little bit about your story.
Well, my high school wasn't the best. But I mean, on a more like a personal pathway is that when I was a kid, probably more middle school, I would draw up floor plans and I would try to figure out how much it was going to cost to build whatever it is that I was designing.
That's awesome.
I had no idea what an estimator was. Didn't have a clue. I always thought that construction was for blue collar workers, and I knew I didn't want to be a blue collar worker. Nothing against blue collar workers. They're the ones that build the world. But I knew for me that I wanted something a little bit different. And so I wanted to be an architect. I didn't want to be an architect. I wanted to travel the world. So I ended up getting my degree in international business, and I ended up going to work in Iraq for about 2 years. And I worked under the O&M, operations and maintenance, for the contractor that I was employed by, and I've been in construction ever since. And yeah, I worked in the field and I worked in the office, and I found my niche, and this is where I am now.
That's terrific. So what do you do as a chief estimator on a daily basis? Like, what would you say a typical day for Kerri is?
No typical day.
That's great.
Yep, no typical day. Well, this morning I was reviewing some plans for a project that we decided to bid on. So I'm going through the specs and trying to figure out what it's going to cost. It's a little bit of a different type of project because it's based on a percentage. So they've already told us what they're willing to pay for a certain item. I had to figure out, well, what is it really going to cost for that item? Yesterday, I got to work from home. So, yeah, but then I had to drive to Granville Central School District for a pre-bid. So I went to the school and walked around the school to take a look at it because they have a project coming out. Then what I'll do is I'll go through the specs, I'll go through the drawings, and I'll start taking everything off. I'll call up subcontractors, I'll look and find for discrepancies and send questions into the architects and engineers for them to answer. Because I mean, nobody's perfect, and there's always those little things that are missing from the documents that it's my responsibility to try and find, so that way when we bid a project, it's a complete project.
That's great. So what are you kind of touched on some of the skills you use every day, but like what are critical skills to be successful in this role?
You have to have a really good memory. That's one thing, because you have to be able to retain what it is that you're looking at and be able to then go back when it's like, hey, I remember reading about that. Oh, wait, it's not shown here, or it's different. Here's a question to send in. I mean, that's one thing. The other one is being able to keep track of what it is that you're doing. Having analytical skills is really important. Problem solving, being able to think outside the box. I mean, there isn't anything that I do that I find boring that my brain just goes, eh. So awesome. It's kind of nice.
That's really awesome. Because one of the students had submitted a question about like, how would you define success? Like, what does success mean for you personally? And a lot of folks have said, like loving what they do every day. So what would success look like for you?
Within my job, it's winning.
Yes. Yeah.
I love to win.
That's awesome.
provides me with, it's like, yes, we won this job. At the same time, it's like, oh crap, did I miss something?
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, that attention to detail is so important for your role, but definitely the competitive spirit. I love that you love to win. You mentioned that you kind of worked in the field. You've done a whole array. So when you're talking about what types of career pathways perhaps exist in your industry, what would you let students know about what opportunities are in the role of construction? Because obviously yours is not a typical job that people might think of connected to construction, those flashcard jobs, but what are some of the other pathways someone might be able to take?
There's so many. You would be surprised at how many there are. And it's not just within like the construction. You also have within architecture and engineering, and then each of them have like that goes out. I mean, you could, if you like to be outside in the woods or on your streets, and you could be a survey tech. So you're out there, you're the guy that's wearing the, or the girl that's wearing, the high vis yellow and with some sort of weird thing shooting out to some guy that's way over there. You're outside in the field all day. There's guys that do just testing of materials. So you're out there, you're collecting the materials from the job site, you take them back to the lab and you get to, test the materials to make sure that it meets the specifications. You could just be somebody that, wants to build. You could do concrete, you can do masonry, you can do carpentry, you can be an electrician. You can specialize within those industries as well. You don't have to be a house builder. You don't have to just work in, industrial or just commercial. I mean, you can find a niche within the AEC, architecture, engineering, construction. You can find something. I mean, I did.
It sounds like the possibilities are endless, which is really exciting for students. Now, what would you say? So I'm sure being a female in the construction industry, do you have any advice for females perhaps looking to get involved in this type of industry?
It's available for you.
Excellent. Yeah.
I mean, it's there. There are more females coming into the industry. The guys, I mean, just like anything else, I mean, they're gonna, pull and they're gonna razz and, things along those lines. But if you show up, you do your job well, just like the guys, they'll, they won't even be razzing you anymore. They're gonna be going to you for advice.
So much.
But you're 18 years old starting in something, you don't know everything. Don't act like you do.
Right. No, that's terrific advice, because everyone, it's like, you don't know what you don't know. And we all have a lot to learn, and every day is a new learning opportunity. That's fabulous. How has your industry been affected by the pandemic?
It's been touched. I mean, when it all came down, a lot of projects were halted. Just, like school was halted, try to figure out what's going on. So there was a bit of a downside, but things are starting to build back up again. People are, putting projects back out to bid. So I'm busy again, and, building has started. It's another safety factor that we have to figure in, because we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, 6 months from now, or a year from now. But it's the same thing anytime that we hit, an economic recession, we don't know what's going to happen. So, you go with it.
And you're prepared, and you pivot, and you do it the best that you can. That's terrific. And final question, just for you, about what type of advice would you give students in high school, just overall?
I had a feeling you're going to ask something like that. There's something out there for you. Don't let anybody push you into something thinking that it's good enough for you, or, hey, I think you'd be good at that. If you don't have a passion for it, find your passion, fulfill it. You'll be happy.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us, Kerri. And I'm sure that there'll be some students that will want to follow up separately. So we'll be sure to share some of your information with them as well. So take care. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.